What if one act of kindness cost you everything you had, but gave you everything you needed? If you believe kindness can change lives, hit that like button and subscribe for more inspiring stories that'll restore your faith in humanity. The rain didn't just fall that evening. It attacked the streets like it had a personal grudge against the city. Lightning cracked across the sky, and the wind howled so loud you could barely hear yourself think. Inside Romano's diner on 5th Street, 23-year-old Leo Anderson was doing what he did best, serving customers with a smile, even when his feet ached and his back screamed for rest. He'd been working double shifts for 3 weeks straight. His mother's medical bills weren't going to pay themselves. "More coffee, table 6, his manager Vincent barked from behind the counter. Vincent was the kind of man who saw dollar signs where other people saw human beings. Cold. Calculating. All business, no heart. Leo grabbed the coffee pot and made his rounds, but something made him stop mid-pour. A sound. Faint tapping on the glass windows. Then louder. More desperate. The front door swung open, and a gust of wind sent napkins flying. And there she was. An elderly woman, maybe late 60s, stumbled through the entrance. She was drenched head to toe, hair plastered to her face, clothes clinging to her thin frame, water pooling beneath her shoes. She stood there shivering, looking lost and fragile, like a bird that had fallen from its nest. The diner went silent. Then the whispers started. "Is that a homeless person? Oh my God, she's dripping everywhere. Someone get her out of here. I'm trying to eat." Leo watched as customers covered their noses, as if kindness was something that could be contaminated. A man in a business suit actually stood up and moved to a different table. A mother pulled her child closer, as if poverty was contagious. Leo's heart sank. Not because of the woman, because of everyone else. He put down the coffee pot and walked straight toward her. "Ma'am," he said gently, "this way, please." Her name was Grace. Grace Whitmore. She told him later, but in that moment, she was just a stranger who needed help. Leo noticed Vincent glaring from across the room, but he didn't care. He couldn't seat her in the dining area, not with everyone staring like she was a criminal. So he made a quick decision. "Ma'am, would you mind coming through the back? The floor's just been mopped out here, and I don't want you to slip." It was a lie. A kind one. Grace seemed to understand. He led her through the swinging doors into the kitchen. The cooks barely looked up. They'd seen Leo's soft heart before. He grabbed a clean towel from the shelf and handed it to her. "Here, dry yourself off." Grace's hands trembled as she took it. "Thank you, young man. Thank you so much." Leo disappeared for a moment and returned with a steaming bowl of chicken soup, a cheese sandwich, and an old jacket someone had left behind months ago. "Please," he said, setting it down on a stool. "Eat. Warm up. Take your time." Grace's eyes filled with tears. I don't have money to pay for this." "Don't worry about it," Leo said, waving her off. "Just stay until the storm passes, all right?" For 20 minutes, Grace sat in that kitchen, sipping soup and wrapped in that old jacket. Leo checked on her between orders, refilled her coffee, asked if she needed anything else. She kept thanking him, over and over, like she couldn't believe someone actually cared. When the rain finally let up, Grace stood slowly, folded the jacket neatly, and handed it back. "You've restored my faith in people today, Leo. I won't forget this." She left through the back door, and Leo returned to the dining room. That's when he saw Vincent storming toward him, face red as a tomato. "My office." "Now." Leo's stomach dropped. Inside the cramped manager's office, Vincent slammed the door so hard a calendar fell off the wall. "What the hell were you thinking?" Vincent shouted, spit flying. "Bringing some filthy beggar into MY kitchen?" "She wasn't filthy, sir. She was just. I don't care." Vincent's voice cracked with rage. "A customer complained. Said we're running a charity instead of a business. Do you have any idea what that does to our reputation?" Leo's hands were shaking now. "Sir, please." She was soaked. She had nowhere to go. "I was just. You're fired." The word hit like a punch to the gut. "Sir, please. I need this job. My mother, she's sick. The medical bills. You should have thought about that before you turned my restaurant into a homeless shelter. Get out. Don't come back." Leo stood there frozen, humiliated. The other kitchen staff had heard everything. Nobody said a word. Nobody defended him. He walked out through the back door, the same one Grace had used, and the rain started falling again. Softer this time, like the sky was crying with him. And that's when he heard her voice. "Leo." He turned. Grace was standing under the awning across the street, that same jacket wrapped around her shoulders. "I heard everything," she said quietly, stepping closer. "And I'm so sorry." Leo wiped his eyes quickly. "It's not your fault, ma'am." "Maybe not," Grace said. "But maybe, just maybe, this happened for a reason." Leo looked at her, confused. And Grace smiled. A strange, knowing smile. "Walk with me," she said. "I have something I need to tell you." Leo walked beside Grace through the wet streets, his mind still spinning from what had just happened. One moment he had a job. The next he had nothing. Just empty pockets and a mother who needed medication he couldn't afford. "Where are we going?" he asked quietly. Grace stopped under a streetlight and turned to face him. In the glow, Leo could see her more clearly now. Her clothes, though soaked, weren't cheap. Her hands, though wrinkled with age, were well manicured. And her eyes, they weren't the eyes of someone broken. They were sharp, intelligent, kind. "Leo," she said slowly, "I need to tell you the truth about who I am." Leo's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" Grace took a deep breath. "My name is Grace Whitmore. I'm not homeless. I'm not a beggar. I own the Grandview Hotel, a 5-star establishment about an hour from here." Leo's mouth fell open. "You what?" "I came to this city for a business meeting this afternoon," Grace continued. "I was walking from my car to the hotel when 2 young men ran past me. One of them grabbed my purse right off my shoulder. Everything was in there, my phone, my wallet, my credit cards, even my keys." She wrapped the jacket tighter around herself, remembering. "I tried to call for help, but I had nothing. No way to contact anyone. No money for a cab. And then the storm hit." She looked up at Leo. "Your restaurant was the closest building. I just needed somewhere safe to wait it out." Leo felt like the ground was shifting beneath him. But why didn't you say something? Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted to see something," Grace said softly. "I wanted to see how people would treat someone they thought had nothing. Someone they thought was beneath them." Her voice cracked slightly. "And I got my answer. Those people in that restaurant. They looked at me like I was garbage. Like I was invisible. Like I didn't deserve to breathe the same air." She reached out and touched Leo's arm. "But you? You saw a human being. You saw someone who needed help, and you helped. No questions asked. No judgment." Leo didn't know what to say. His throat felt tight. "That manager fired you for being kind," Grace continued, anger flashing in her eyes. "He chose cruelty over compassion. Money over humanity. And I will never forget that." The rain had stopped completely now. The city sounds filtered back in, distant sirens, car horns, the hum of life continuing like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Grace looked Leo straight in the eyes. "I have a proposition for you. And before you answer, I want you to really think about it." Leo nodded slowly. "I'm 78 years old," Grace said. "I've built an empire. I have more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. But you know what I don't have?" Her voice wavered. "Family. My husband passed away 12 years ago. We never had children. My siblings are gone. I have business partners, lawyers, accountants, but not one single person who cares whether I wake up in the morning." Leo felt his chest tighten. "I live in a beautiful home in the city. 10 rooms. All empty except for me." Grace paused. "I'm asking you to come live with me, Leo. Not as an employee. As his family. Take care of me the way you would take care of your own mother. Keep me company. Help me around the house. And in return, I'll pay you more than that diner ever would. You can send money home for your mother's medical bills. You can have a real future." Leo stared at her, speechless. "I know it sounds crazy," Grace added quickly. "A strange old woman offering you a place to live. But I'm not crazy, Leo. I'm just lonely. And you're kind. And kindness is the rarest thing in this world." Leo's mind raced. Leave everything? Move to a new city? Live with a stranger? But then he thought about his mother, struggling to breathe at night because they couldn't afford her inhaler refills. He thought about the rent that was 3 weeks overdue. He thought about Vincent's cruel face, telling him he was worthless. Can I think about it?" Leo asked. Grace smiled warmly. "Of course. Take a week. Here." She pulled out a business card from an inner pocket that had somehow stayed dry. "This has my hotel's address. When you're ready, come find me." 7 days later, Leo knocked on the door of Grace's home. It wasn't just a house. It was a mansion. Tall iron gates, manicured gardens, marble steps leading to double oak doors. Grace opened the door herself, her face lighting up like sunrise. "You came," she whispered. "I came," Leo said. And just like that, his life began again. The months that followed were the happiest Leo had known in years. He moved into a guest room bigger than his entire apartment. He helped Grace with groceries, drove her to appointments, cooked meals, watched old movies with her in the evenings. But it wasn't work. It was family. Grace told him stories about her late husband, about building her business from nothing, about the loneliness that money could never fill. And Leo told her about his mother, his dreams, his fears. She never treated him like a servant. She treated him like the son she never had. Leo sent money home every week. His mother's health improved. The weight on his shoulders lifted. For the first time in his adult life, he felt peaceful. But peace never lasts forever. It was a Tuesday morning in April when Leo knocked on Grace's bedroom door with her coffee, like he did every morning. No answer. "Grace," he called softly. "You awake?" Still nothing. A cold feeling crept up his spine. He opened the door slowly. Grace was lying in bed, perfectly still, her hands folded across her chest like she'd simply drifted off to sleep. Her face was calm, peaceful, but she wasn't breathing. "No," Leo whispered. "No, no, no." He rushed to her side, grabbed her hand. It was cold. "Grace? Grace, please." But she was gone. The woman who had saved him, who had become his family, who had filled the emptiness in both their lives, she was gone. Leo collapsed beside the bed and sobbed like a child. Not because he'd lost a benefactor. Because he'd lost his mother, his friend, his family. The funeral was small. Business associates in expensive suits who barely knew her. A few hotel staff members who respected her, but never really knew her heart. And Leo, standing alone at the front, grieving like he'd lost everything. Because he had. After the burial, Leo returned to the empty mansion. He started packing his things, assuming he'd have to leave soon. Back to square one. Back to nothing. That's when the phone rang. "Hello. Is this Leo Anderson?" "Yes. This is Charles Pemberton. I'm Mrs. Whitmore's attorney. I need you to come to my office immediately. It's urgent." Leo's heart sank. He was probably being evicted. Asked to leave. The dream was over. "I'll be there in an hour," Leo said quietly. He had no idea that everything was about to change. The law office was located on the 34th floor of a glass tower downtown. Leo had never been in a building this tall before. His reflection in the polished elevator doors looked small. Lost. Like he didn't belong. The receptionist led him down a hallway lined with dark wood and leather chairs. Everything smelled expensive. Everything felt final. "Mr. Pemberton will see you now," she said, opening a heavy door. Charles Pemberton was a man in his 60s, with silver hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He stood and extended his hand. "Leo, thank you for coming on such short notice. Please sit." Leo sat in the chair across from the massive desk, his hands fidgeting in his lap. Am I in trouble?" Charles looked surprised. "Trouble? Good heavens, no. Quite the opposite, actually." He opened a leather folder and pulled out several documents. "I'm here to execute Mrs. Whitmore's last will and testament." Leo's stomach twisted. "Okay." Mrs. Whitmore was very specific about her wishes, Charles continued, adjusting his glasses. "She updated her will 3 months ago. Right around the time you moved in with her, if I'm not mistaken. 3 months ago." Leo remembered that time. Grace had seemed extra thoughtful then, asking him questions about his dreams, his future, what made him happy. Charles looked directly at Leo. Mrs. Whitmore had no living relatives. No children. No siblings. Her estate is considerable, the hotel, her home, various investments, savings accounts. He paused. "And she has left everything to you." The room went silent. Leo blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "Everything, Leo. The Grandview Hotel. The mansion. Her investment portfolio. Her savings. Every last dollar." Charles slid the documents across the desk. "You are the sole beneficiary of Grace Whitmore's estate." Leo felt like he couldn't breathe. That's impossible. There must be a mistake." "There's no mistake," Charles said gently. "Mrs. Whitmore was very clear. She told me herself. Charles, that young man gave me something money can't buy. He gave me family. He gave me love. And I want him to have the security I never did when I was young." Leo's vision blurred with tears. His hands trembled as he looked at the papers in front of him. Property deeds, bank statements, business documents. Numbers so large they didn't even look real. "She also left you this," Charles said softly, handing him a sealed envelope. She wrote it the week before she passed. She wanted you to read it alone. Leo took the envelope with shaking hands. His name was written on the front in Grace's elegant handwriting. "Take your time," Charles said, standing. "I'll give you a moment. When you're ready, we'll go through the details." He left the office quietly, closing the door behind him. Leo sat there, staring at the envelope. Finally, with trembling fingers, he opened it. "My dearest Leo, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. And I truly hope, that I went peacefully in my sleep without burden or pain. But more than that, I hope I went knowing I wasn't alone. Before you came into my life, I had everything except the one thing that mattered. I had money, success, respect. But I didn't have love. I didn't have someone to share breakfast with. Someone to laugh with. Someone to remind me that life is more than bank accounts and business meetings. That rainy night when I walked into that restaurant, I wasn't just testing humanity. I was giving up on it. I was ready to believe that kindness was dead. That people only cared about what you could do for them. And then you proved me wrong. You saw a soaking wet old woman that everyone else saw as garbage, and you treated her with dignity. You gave up your job, just to make sure I was warm and fed. You asked for nothing in return. That's when I knew. This young man is special. These past months with you have been the happiest of my entire life. Yes, even happier than my marriage, as much as I loved my husband. Because you gave me something he never could. You gave me the feeling of being a mother. Of having a son who cared about me, not my money. You never asked me for anything, Leo. Not once. You were just there. Present. Kind. Real. So now I'm giving you everything I have. Not because I feel obligated. Not because I pity you. But because you deserve it. You deserve security. You deserve a future without struggle. You deserve to help your mother the way you helped me. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel like you didn't earn this. You earned it the moment you handed a stranger a bowl of soup and asked for nothing in return. Live well, my dear boy. Be generous. Be kind. Stay exactly who you are, because who you are is extraordinary. All my love, Grace. Leo sat in that office and cried. Not quiet tears, but deep, shaking sobs that came from the bottom of his soul. He cried for Grace. He cried for himself. He cried for the impossible beauty of what had just happened. One act of kindness. One moment of compassion on a rainy night. And it had changed everything. 2 years later, Leo stood in the lobby of the Grandview Hotel, watching his staff prepare for the evening rush. The chandeliers sparkled. The marble floors gleamed. Everything was perfect. But Leo had changed things. Under his management, the hotel had a new policy. Every month, they provided free rooms to families in crisis. Abuse survivors. People escaping homelessness. Anyone who needed a safe place to land. Vincent, his old manager, would have hated it. Bad for business, he would have said. But Leo knew better. Kindness was never bad for business. It was the whole point of business. He was reviewing the evening's reservations when he noticed a young woman standing near the entrance. She was soaking wet. A sudden rainstorm had blown through. She looked nervous, embarrassed, like she didn't belong. Other guests were staring. Whispering. Leo walked straight to her. "Miss," he said gently, "can I help you?" She looked up, startled. I'm sorry. I was supposed to meet someone here for a job interview, but I got caught in the rain. I look horrible. I should probably just go." "Nonsense," Leo said, smiling. "Come with me." He led her to a private lounge, brought her a towel and hot tea, and gave her time to dry off and collect herself. When her interviewer arrived, Leo personally escorted her to the meeting. She got the job. A week later, she came back to thank him, tears in her eyes. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "Nobody's ever treated me with that kind of respect before." Leo smiled. "Someone once did the same for me. I'm just paying it forward." That night, Leo stood on the balcony of Grace's mansion, his mansion now, and looked up at the stars. "I hope you're proud of me," he whispered to the night sky. "I hope you know I'll never forget what you did. What you gave me." The wind rustled through the trees, gentle and warm. And somewhere Leo was sure Grace was smiling. Because in the end, she hadn't just given him money or property or success. She'd given him the most important lesson of all. Kindness is never wasted. It always finds its way back to you. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But always. One bowl of soup on a rainy night had saved 2 lives. And the world became a little bit brighter because one young man chose compassion over cruelty. One moment of love over a lifetime of indifference. And that made all the difference.